guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Autumn and I'm here with a little bit of some different content for you today. I want to talk about how to ace the JET program interview process. Right now, because of Miss C19 and all her sisters, everything is online, so I guess this could be the online edition because I have not participated in a full face-to-face interview process. So I do have some tips for you for people who are about to go into their interviews this week, next week, the next couple weeks, because I was in your shoes a year ago, so I can completely understand the that you're feeling. I get it. So for your interview, it's good to be prepared. And I mean that on all fronts, mentally, physically, situationally. The first thing that I recommend is dressing the part. Even for this video, I've put on the blazer and shirt that I wore, and I'm kind of sort of a big girl, so girls, get out there, get stuff that's tailored. I got pants that were tailored to fit me, and I dressed from head to toe, even though this is all they saw in the interview. Just in case they made me stand up, I wanted to be prepared. So don't go in there with sweatpants on from the waist down or jeans. Dress like a real interview. I also recommend dressing Japanese, if that makes sense. So a lot of business people in Japan will wear black suits, white button-down shirts, or striped button-down shirts. This is all that I could find. All the white button-down shirts weren't big enough, so I did what I could with the best that I could. Ladies, black skirts works. I personally stayed away from lighter colored jackets and pants just because I don't typically see that on television, so I just kind of wanted to look the part. Another part of that for my chocolate girls, if you have natural hair like myself, I took the liberty of straightening my hair for this interview. You don't have to. You do not have to. I blame America, assimilation. You don't have to. But me personally, enable for me to feel like I was going into an interview that was life-changing, I changed my hair. Wish I wouldn't have to do that, but that's just how the country works, I guess. When you dress the part, you're ready mentally for an interview, if that makes sense. When it comes to your interview, the second tip that I have is know your SOP like the back of your hand. You should know your SOP, your statement of purpose, in and out. They should be able to ask you a question and you know exactly what line that was, what you said. I read my SOP maybe 15 to 20 times just before I even turned it in. So I knew what all I put in there. But I mean, let's face it, you haven't looked at your SOP since November, right? When you turned it in. It's February. It's March. It's time to look at the SOP. So just look at it. Brush up on what you said. If there are some key points to your SOP that you think that they may ask you, definitely keep that stuff in mind. Keep those examples ready at the top of your brain. My third tip for the actual interview day is just make sure your environment is peaceful. If you live in a really rowdy house, find another place. If you've got a friend that's got their own apartment like I did, ask if you can do your interview at their place while they're not home. Make sure that your environment is comfortable. Make sure you are away from certain windows where people are loud. Turn the AC off. For me, for my example, I had to turn the AC off at my friend's apartment because it was really loud and they would have heard it. So yes, I was sweating bullets, but it was quiet and I was able to focus. As well as checking your environment, dogs. The reason I went to my friend's house is because I do have a dog. So she does like to bark at people and cry. So yeah, I had to find a place where I wouldn't be distracted by animals or people or like outside sources. So go somewhere that's quiet, even if you have to like pay your friend for a day. Do something, go somewhere that's quiet. Make sure the internet works. Check your internet connection before you do anything, and make sure that your Zoom app on your computer is up to date and is working, because the last thing you want is like Zoom updating 2 minutes before your interview and then you can't get into the waiting room. That sounds like a nightmare. As far as recapping, tip number 3, get your environment together. So that's Wi-Fi, the area, quietness. Like if you are like in my room, I've got all this stuff in the background. Me personally, I'd be up against a flat wall. I don't want any distractions from my background. So I'd probably go against a blank wall, or like maybe closer to this door here, so that they can't see anything in my room. I wouldn't want them to see my bed. Don't show them any anime posters. Like, this is an interview. Regardless of where it is, it's an interview. So another tip that I guess I would say would be before your interview, way before your interview. Like you found out today and your interview is March the 3rd or something. Your interview tip that I would give, or like tips to enable to ace the interview, knowing Japanese culture even just a little bit. What I mean by that is you're gonna wanna go to your local bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, you know, whatever bookstore you have, and pick up something like this. It's Fudor's Travel Japan, and the reason why I recommend something like this is because it has each of the prefectures, each of the cities, their food, their culture, what they do in this book. I didn't read all of it, but I read enough to know, especially for like placement, if they asked me why I picked certain places, I knew exactly why I'd pick that place because I read up on it. Also, this just kind of helps like get your knowledge up. You should be doing something like this anyway, honestly. My 5th tip for getting ready for your interview and like acing the interview is to stay off of Reddit. Like right now is not the best time to get on Reddit. In my opinion, it's when I got on Reddit during my week of my interview, I just kept seeing rejections, nervous about the interview. Yes, it's comforting to know that there are people who are equally nervous as you about the interview process, but I feel Reddit is such a negative space sometimes. Sometimes it can be helpful, but a lot of the times Reddit is such a negative space, like your mindset doesn't need to go into that negative space before something like this. And with that being said, when people around you are being negative, cut that crap out. Cut them out. Snip, you know, cut them off just temporarily so that you can get your mind together, because this job is like gonna change your life. Come on. Like, you know, you're gonna let Betty Sue and her issues mess up this opportunity for you? No, we're not. If these tips are helpful to you, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Let's get back into the tips. Starting with tip number 6. My 6th tip is to brush up on your Japanese. If you pressed, or if you told them that you are at any language of Japanese language, I told them I was at beginner, brush up on your Japanese. You're gonna want to do this for a number of reasons. A, you just might have to say something in Japanese like I did. I was asked 3 questions, and out of the 3 questions, 2 of them I could answer. I think that they asked me like, what do I like what type of Japanese food do I like? And then they asked me like, what is my name in Japanese? And I was able to give them examples of like each of those. The third one, I don't know, I can't remember what she asked me because my brain was like, huh. But it's also good to know simple Japanese phrases, not even just for the program, but for the interview as well. If you'd like to pick up a survivor guide or something simple that teaches you like Japanese phrases that you need to know, or something like that, it's really good to use words that it'll be impressive for them if you know like, oh, I don't know the answer to that question, so you can say sumimasen, wakarimasen, like I'm sorry, I don't understand, you know. Super simple. They'll be impressed because at least you can say that much, and also it just like makes you look good. Knowing Japanese is not a requirement, but I feel like if you're going to a new country, why not learn their language? It just kind of makes a little more sense, you know. My 7th tip sounds really simple, but like you'll be amazed how like stiff people were. Bring your personality, okay? Bring your personality and bring your smile. They know everything you've told them in your SOP. You don't have to regurgitate everything you know. What you need to do during this interview process is show yourself. Give them the reason, personality-wise, to why they should let you into this program. With that includes super simple stuff like when you're in the waiting room before they pull you in and out of the interview areas, like the interview with the panel. I feel like it's a good idea to talk to the people that are in the waiting room with you. A lot of them are just as nervous as you are. It's gonna shine, your personality is going to shine because they're going to see, hey, this person's nervous, but they're still willing to go out there and talk to these random people. And then you don't know who you might be helping by just saying like, oh, you got this, like this is gonna be great. You know, egg each other on so that when they get in there, you know, you can't linger too long when you come back, but it does feel good to come back into the waiting room after a successful interview and let your fellow waities, like the people that are waiting, know like, you know what, it's really not that bad, you guys got this. You know, because that's what I did. I just kind of like, you know, big sis here, you guys got this. Tip number 8 also seems pretty simple, but it's not required. So this is a teaching job. I mean, if you don't know by now, you applied for a teaching job. Teaching experience is not required. However, I think it's important to go into your interview with a few teaching experience examples, even if you don't actually teach. So for me, for example, what I talked about was my training of other coworkers at different jobs. I did train new coworkers to take over my position. That's a form of teaching. I also teach myself things. So just having tiny examples of that, even though you're not a teacher, it's just kind of good that it's good for them to know, if they ask, how you have done with teaching other people, peers or otherwise. It's not required for you to have teaching experience, but I feel like just going into the interview, just have a couple examples in mind that you can elaborate on if you are asked. Tip number 9 is to practice. I was practicing with my friends, one friend, for about 2 weeks, I believe, 2 weeks straight. And I'm not gonna lie, I hopped on Reddit and I looked up like possible interview questions. I scoured the internet and YouTube for just regular interview questions just to get ready. And I have flashcards of all the questions that I could be asked and my possible answers. And I color coded them because I'm me. If you want, I can like read all these out in another video. Just let me know if that's gonna be useful. But basically I wrote out these questions and I would FaceTime with my friends and I would hold the question up to where I couldn't see it and I would make them ask it to me and then I would answer it. Now, a lot of these questions I was not asked at all. So I will say it definitely got me ready to answer them, but I wasn't asked a lot of them. Especially like the dreaded "tell me about yourself" question. You know, that one. That one's tough. But I think it's good to practice interviewing with your family or your friends or people that don't know you. If you have like a coworker that you can like confide in and do interview questions, then that would be really great. Yeah, let me know if you guys want me to read through these questions. Because I can totally do that for you. Along with that, it's not exactly a tip. I just want to mention that I did not have a mock lesson question, but I have heard that people did do mock lesson questions on the online interview process. For that question, I had about 2 or 3 super simple, super quick mock lesson things, like, you know, talking about fruit or talking about colors, just something super quick, super simple. It doesn't have to be fully planned out, but just have something go to just in case they ask. Super quick and simple, just in case, because I don't think I was asked anything. I can't think if any of my friends were asked to do a mock interview, but I have seen on Reddit that some people have. Maybe that's the only instance I would recommend getting on Reddit before your interview, is just checking to see what other people have done as far as their mock interview lessons online, because I cannot be of assistance for you. I do apologize. Tip number 10 is to ask them questions. Do not, and I repeat, do not leave that interview room unless you have asked at least 2 questions. I don't care if it's just write down some questions to ask them. Do not leave without asking questions. One of the questions that I asked one of the JET program panelists, which was a JET program attendee, he used to do it. I asked him, can you give me an example of something you felt improved while you were in Japan? It could have been anything. Or if you're into Japanese language, you can ask about, you know, did they feel like living in Japan helped with their Japanese language skills? Or you could ask the panelists, like, what is something that is expected of the JET program role that isn't mentioned on the website? I don't know. Think of something. But I think of 2 questions because they do give you a moment at the end of the interview to ask questions. Do not be quiet. Do not say, no, I don't have anything. Ask some questions. They're asking you to ask them questions because they want to see if you actually want to know anything else. Because we all know the JET program can be very vague. If you have gotten this far, you know how vague they can be. You're gonna have to ask for some clarity. Even if it's stuff you already know, ask the question anyway. Yeah. If you guys like these tips, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. I will be doing another video next week, also related to the JET program. For those of you who unfortunately got rejected, I have been there. I have been in your shoes. I know how you feel. We're gonna talk about it. If you have any questions or you want any like deep dives on anything, or if you want me to do a video about these cards, I will do that for you. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more content, and I will see you later. Bye. All right, guys. So we're at the end of the video. Let me tell y'all about these cards, okay? I have not looked at these cards since my interview. When I tell you I was so stressed, my face was breaking out. It was so bad. It was so bad. But my face was breaking out. I was stressed out. I was keeping it under wraps. Like, Nobody needed to know that I was having this interview. But I've got all these and they're like gold. And I remember that's how I met my one friend, because he did a video on the JET program interview and I saw that video and I was freaking out. So yeah, like, don't freak out when you see this video, guys. I'm just trying to help. Yeah, just, you'll be good. You got this. You got this. You got this. You're gonna ace this interview. You're gonna be in Japan with your girl next year. Like, if you get into the JET program, please, like, reach out, because I was in your shoes. I mean, I'm still technically in your shoes. I haven't even left the country yet. We're not gonna talk about it. We're not gonna talk about it. Okay.